Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have an overview of Perona, the new green and black leader from the 6th set of the One Piece card game. And real quick, if you guys are new to the channel, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We do a lot of One Piece content here, not only these videos, but live streams here on YouTube as well as on Twitch, including today at 1 p.m. EST as this video comes out. So a lot of content for this game specifically, and including Perona gameplay if you guys want to check it. It's honestly, I think, my favorite leader, at least so far in OP06 that I've done some intensive testing with, and I don't think it's the best leader, but it has a lot of fair matchups where most games I feel like there's a chance for me to win. There's some really good lines for me, and it's just really strong in a lot of ways. A lot of interaction with your opponent's cards, which is really cool. So that's what we're going to go talk about today, and let's just jump on into the leader real quick. We do have this Perona. It is the second green and black leader, with the first one being that Isho from OP04, and it's kind of similar in a couple ways. It does kind of have like some interaction with making your opponent's cards cost less, but it has this activate main. Once returned, to choose one of the followings: rest up to one of your opponent's characters costs 4 less, or up to one of your opponent's characters gets -1 cost during the turn. I'm going to be honest, if it was only that first effect, I think this leader would be just as good. I don't see the second one come up as much. It does occasionally, but the powerhouse of this leader is definitely being able to rest something with a cost of 4 or less. So that means for most of the early game, you get to free rest of whatever your opponent played, which is fantastic, which means that you can just attack into it, get rid of that, some resources or their tempo. And that's very, very strong for a leader like this in a card game like this too. So it is kind of compared to Gecko Mori a little bit, since they both are like black through the Bark Pirate decks, but Perona I think plays way differently and just has a way different game plan. So I did play a good amount of Isho. It was one of my favorite kind of pet decks in OP04, and I think Perona is just kind of like the natural evolution to what it is, especially since like both these leaders are very open-ended on how the decks work, and I think that Perona still has that removal on the leader. It's just like a little bit better since it gets that rest automatically on a lot of things, so I think that's very good. And also the card that kind of, I think, makes this leader go from good to great is this Ryuma. I know it's just one card, but it has so much strength in this deck specifically. It's just pretty simple. It has an on-play or on-KO, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. So what that means is that you are able to use like Perona's effect, rest a 4 cost, then play Ryuma and gets rid of it. So that's a really great combo for you. It's a 4-drop 6 case, and we've seen those be very strong with like Rob Lucci running around for quite a bit. And the best part is that like the on-KO effect comes up pretty often, so they can't just attack their 4-drop into you, or if they already attack with it, like it's kind of weird to remove this card at times too. So I think it's really strong. It's also kind of comparable to X-Drake, which sees some play and also works with Perona quite well, being a 5-drop 6k that gets rid of a 4-cost rest or lower. And again, even if your opponent has something that they already had rested, like a 5-drop, we could use Perona's effect to reduce the cost by 1, so the Ryuma or the X-Drake can get rid of it. So I think really key for what this leader does, and being able to use this card, something that Moria can't, is very strong. Some other tech cards you can use with this, I haven't used these as much, but some cards that I had people tell me about specifically. If you use the cost reduction effect of something like Great Eruption and Ice Age, that means that you can then rest it with the leader and then play Ryuma, right? So if you have a 6 cost, or your opponent has a 6 cost, you can use Great Eruption for 1, make it cost 4, then use your leader's effect to make it cost, or rest it, and then you can play Ryuma to get rid of it, right? So with Great Eruption, you don't even like lose a card advantage, you just use 1 extra Dawn for it. Ice Age gets rid of almost every card in the game with the 2 of them, since it makes a 9 cost 4. Again, you can rest it with the Perona, and then Ryuma can get rid of it. And then 2 additional cards, we have El Meppo, which works pretty well with the Gecko Moria, which we'll talk about in a second, and then also the Momo, since this is a Land of Wano card. If you want to bring it and be able to help you find this on turn 2 more consistently, Momo can be very good for that too. So honestly, I think a very strong card and helps out specifically Perona, but there's a lot of other decks in green specifically. I think you can get some advantage for it, including like Isho itself can get some advantage with it. Just the same kind of ideas of like the only thing is that Isho has a harder time resting cards, but other than that, just very, very strong. So there we go. All right, we got 2 super rares for Thriller Bark Pirates in the set. Not that it really matters that they're Thriller Bark, since both of them are very generic in a lot of ways. But we have this 4-drop Perona. It's a 2k counter, which is nice, and has some pretty good effects of on play. If your opponent has 5 or more cards in their hand, you get to choose one of the following. Either make them discard a card, which is pretty rare of a skill in this game, and honestly, I'm a hand destruction fiend, so I love being able to play that in this deck. But also, give up to one of your opponent's characters -3 cost for the turn. So obviously, this could be something like for 8 Dawn, You play out Perona, you give something -3, so you put a 7 cost to go down to 4. Then you can use Ryuma, and then use the Ryuma with the Perona effect. Maybe not that order. Rest and then play Ryuma. Don't be a bad player, but you see what I mean. Like that's kind of great, and it's a 2K counter, so very strong card for this Perona. Then we also have this Gecko Moria, which you guys have probably already heard about and have opinions on. This gets to play whatever you want. And it's just a 4 or less and a 2 or less, so being able to use this effect to bring back any color, which is the key part of the whenever you want, because it's not whatever you want, but being able to get rid out a green card and a black card, for example. You can play Helmeppo and then use Ryuma, and then you can use Helmeppo's effect to give something -3, and then use Ryuma's effect to get rid of a 7 or less. So that's great. Or if you already use your Perona effect, an 8 or less, so that's very great for you. So I think that's very strong for you too. Like, you can play Suru as well. It's not as good as Helmeppo, but it still gets the effect there. And Gecko Mori is just a really mean card in this deck specifically, where you're trying to grind out all this value. And this card says like +2 at times, if not more, if you get rid of something on play. So I think it's a very nasty card in Perona as well. All right, a couple new rares we're going to talk about real quick, because honestly, like, Perona is really open-ended for how you build it in a lot of ways. There's not really a lot of cards outside of Ryuma that are like specifically for her. But we have this Brook. Choose one, put up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less into their trash. This card's really neat. The fact that it doesn't KO the card, so it gets around Sabo, it gets around Borsalino, which is really good. Brook with leader effect makes it cost, like a Sabo costs 4, and then you play Brook, you bottom deck it, or put it into their trash. It's very good. Putting 3 from their trash to the bottom of the deck in any order comes up less, but sometimes comes up in some matchups. But honestly, it's just a really okay card on curve. It's a little bit understated. It only, hits a 4 or less, but if you go second and you use your leader effect to make their 5 cost a 4, it's very good in that scenario. You also have Dr. Hogback, which is better in Moria as a leader, but you can still use it in Perona. On play, return 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck, and then put 1 Thriller Bark card other than Dr. Hogback from your trash to your hand. So pretty easily, it can draw a Perona, it can draw a Gecko Moria, and also a Ryuma too if you need to. So not too bad, especially since it's a 4 cost, which means that Gecko Moria can play it off your life, and then you get the draw, and that's all good stuff too. So honestly, I think it's not too bad if you want to play it. I don't play it all the time, but just a card to kind of know. And then lastly, I do kind of just want to talk about Thriller Bark. I don't think it's good in Perona, but I do just want to mention it's a card that you can use in it. It's a stage card that says activate main for 1, rest of the stage. If your leader has Thriller Bark Pirates, you can play up to 1 cost 2 or lower Thriller Bark's pirate type character from your trash rested. So you can play all of these cards here, including most of these just put more cards into your trash, which is quite good, being able to get that cycle for free. For example, I think the best one is Inupe, though, being able to use this to draw 2, trash 2, which means you're able to cycle your hand, make sure your hand's better. It's not as good as like Tararan, being able to put 3 cards into their trash if you want the numbers, but it's just great. It's just being able to cycle the cards. So if you find like it's worth paying just 1 energy every turn to keep cycling the Inupe, I don't think that's terrible for you. I don't think it's something that I'm going to be doing in my builds, but it's a card I just want to mention since there is kind of like this whole archetype around it too. So also this guy being able to on KO give to one of your leaders arrested, one of your leaders characters plus 1k power for the turn is not terrible. It just means like it survives for the next turn, which is okay. It's an interesting card too. So anyways, those are kind of like the main cards I want to talk about in regards to Perona, and let's go to my example build. All right, and here is my example build. Also, this is the deck builder that I've been working on for the last couple weeks. Currently, it's in an open beta, so if you guys check out my Discord, you guys can check it out and get access to this current build of it. But also, it should be out formally in the next couple days as well. So chances are, if this video is a couple days old, it's already on my website, Eggman Events. But it's a new deck builder. I'm really happy with where we're at with it. But here's the current Perona build that I've been testing a lot of. I did a full live stream testing this out, and I did pretty good with it. I had a lot of fun with the deck, and honestly, I felt like I had a really good game against Moria and Sakazuki, since they're really good at putting 4 drops out. And again, like Ryuma is very great at just like getting rid of them for free, which is really nice. So you get some good tempo with that. And I decided to go with the Don Quixote do Flamingo package just because we can do some fancy stuff with this 10 drop, specifically like being able to use this effect for free where we can just rest a 4 or less, like Borsalinos, Rebecca's. There's so many cards that your opponent puts out that they have to put out essentially 2 blockers to get rid of it. Like Sanji blocker is really popular too, Brule. All these just don't really exist against this deck right now. And then being able to, like, again, use Perona's effect and then rest something and then play Dofi, I feel like against a lot of matchups you just kind of win, specifically because Sakazuki and Moria also kind of depend on their leader attack every turn to get some kind of value, and just turning that off is really good in that matchup. So anyways, I think this is a very interesting build for what it is, but it's very strong. Don Quixote Rocinante is a very good card for this too, specifically because you can get it back with our 8-drop Moria. And then it's normally, like in standard play, it's never like rested outright, but it has opponent's turn. If one of your other rested characters would be KO'd, you may trash this character instead. And that's KO'd by just any source. So if they were trying to attack into your guy, you could just KO this instead if they got rid of it. So a really popular play is to do something where you can use Gecko Moria and then use its effect to play out like a Kuzan and a Resonante. You play the Resonante and rest because depending on the situation, it's already a blocker if your opponent doesn't want to spend attack to go into it, and you can protect some stuff there. Sometimes you want to put an active too. It's just kind of where you depend. Like sometimes like I need to play Borsalino in active, so that means I have to play like the be able to play the Rosinante rested. So other than that, so I think that's pretty good. Kuzan's great if you're able to get it to stick on board for a turn, because that also enables like your super combos of like Perona and Ryuma, which is really cool. And then also just the rest of it. So I think Savo's in a pretty good spot. It does let you cycle cards, and it's a pretty good card going second in a lot of ways. Draw 2, trash 2 is very good. It sets up your Morias, because sometimes the cards that you want to play from Moria are stuck in your hand. So being able to put those in there efficiently with this card is good, specifically because like Ryuma and Kuzan both don't have any counter cost, which kind of makes it tricky. But whoever wins this war becomes justice does help you additionally get those cards into the trash there. I'm playing 2 copies of Brand New and 2 copies of Inupi. I think the Inupi is probably better. I just felt bad not playing Brand New, especially since we had so many Navy cards with 23. Technically, we're playing more Navy cards than we are playing Don Quixote Pirate cards, but I think this is fine. This gets like a +1, but you can only find Navy cards, but that can include Kuzan, Borsalino, X-Drake is Navy, which is super great. And then also Virgo, which is Navy and Don Quixote Pirates, which all that seems good. And the rest of the cards go into your trash, which means that they have that additional value for you there. So I think a 2-2 split's been fine. Also Rosinante is Navy too, which is really cool. And then Subaru's also great. I'm just running this instead of Helmeppo because you can still do the same thing where you use Gecko to play the Subaru and then play Ryuma, and then you can get rid of a 6 or less or 7 or less if you use Perona. So I think that's a really good combo with you. Obviously, you can also use it in tandem with Brook. Pretty easy, so you can get rid of a 6 and then 7 with leader effect. So generally just Perona, both these effects being for free means that you have a lot of flexibility in your plays, and you get some better combos because of it too, which is really nice. So most of the time I feel like whenever I drop 2 Don Quixote do Flamingos, I just win the game, which is why I'm running the Baby 5, and it's just so important to find it with this that it's worth kind of having like less targets, even though like just making sure that card hits I think is good enough for it too. So, and we have again like so many just like Navy Don Quixote Pirate cards that like that split for it is really kind to us too. So I think that's all I want to go over this deck. I've been really enjoying it. It's been honestly my favorite deck so far of OP06, and probably one that I'd be really prepared to start building on day 1. So that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We have 3 other leaders for the set that we're going to go over, and then we're going to go over into some older leaders going into OP06 too, so really excited for those as well. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.